What's up, everyone? Today we are diving deep into a topic that might just ruin your morning routine, or at least make you look at your favorite mug with a little more suspicion than usual. We're talking about coffee. Now, I'm not talking about that fancy, high-end, small batch stuff that costs $12 for a tiny cup and tastes like a blueberry muffin had a baby with a campfire. No, we're talking about the classics. These are the brands that have been sitting in your grandma's pantry since the 1970s and show up at every office break room across the country. Specifically, we are looking at the big three: Folgers, Maxwell House, and Nescafé. Now, before you come for me in the comments and start a digital riot, I totally get it. These brands are everywhere. They are cheap, they are convenient, and let's be honest, that jingle about the best part of waking up is basically hardwired into our brains from birth. It's comforting, right? It's familiar. But as we head into 2026, we have a lot more scientific information about what is actually going into those giant red and blue plastic tubs. It turns out that good to the last drop might actually be a warning label that means good luck to your liver and your health. Let's start with the absolute heavy hitter of the bunch: Folgers. If you grew up in America, you have definitely smelled this stuff brewing at a holiday dinner or a church social. It's the mountain-grown coffee that supposedly makes everyone wake up with a giant smile on their face. But here's the thing: when you grow coffee on a massive industrial scale to fill millions of tubs every year, you can't just let nature do its thing. It requires a massive amount of help from industrial chemistry. Since Folgers isn't organic, those coffee beans are often treated with a buffet of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. Think about that for a second. Coffee is one of the most heavily chemically treated crops in the world. When you drink non-organic coffee, you aren't just getting caffeine, you might be getting tiny microscopic leftovers of bug spray. That's not exactly the natural wake-up call your body is looking for. It's more like a chemical alarm clock that your organs have to scramble to turn off. The big concern that's been popping up in 2025 health reports is something called acrylamide. I know it sounds like something you'd use to build a skyscraper or glue a plane together, but it's actually a chemical that forms naturally when you roast coffee beans at high heat. Now, to be fair, almost every coffee has some acrylamide, but cheap, mass-produced beans like the ones Folgers uses have been flagged for having much higher than average levels. Scientists call acrylamide a probable carcinogen, which is just fancy science talk for this might cause cancer if you drink enough of it over a long time. So while that mountain-grown aroma is waking you up and making you feel ready for the day, the acrylamide is busy throwing a very weird, very unwanted, and potentially dangerous party in your cells. It's like inviting a guest to your house who looks nice but secretly starts drawing on the walls when you aren't looking. Plus, let's be real about the taste for a minute. Folgers has that classic gas station at 3 a.m. flavor profile. It's bitter, it's super acidic, and it leaves your mouth feeling like you just licked a dusty penny. That extreme bitterness isn't just a bold flavor, it's actually a sign of low-quality beans. These companies often use Robusta beans, which are cheaper and easier to grow, but taste much harsher than the Arabica beans used by better brands. They roast them within an inch of their lives to hide the fact that the beans weren't very good to begin with. It's like trying to fix a burnt cake by covering it in a gallon of frosting. It doesn't actually fix the problem. Moving on to our second offender, Maxwell House. Their slogan is "good to the last drop," but after looking at some of the recent data, I'm starting to wonder if they meant good to the last drop of pesticide residue. Maxwell House is another budget giant that prioritizes one thing above all else: keeping the price as low as possible. Because they produce so much coffee so fast, they often use lower grade beans and store them in ways that aren't exactly 5-star hotel quality. This brings us to one of the scariest words in the whole coffee world: mycotoxins. These are basically toxic molds that grow in coffee beans if they aren't processed, dried, and stored correctly. Imagine a giant damp warehouse filled with millions of beans. That is basically a playground for mold. While high-end brands test for this stuff like they're preparing for a mission to Mars, budget brands like Maxwell House are a bit more relaxed about the whole situation. Drinking mold juice every morning can lead to some really annoying health issues like brain fog, constant fatigue, and inflammation. If you ever drink a cup of coffee and feel like your brain is made of wet cardboard 10 minutes later, you might not be having a caffeine crash. You might actually be reacting to mycotoxins. It's like putting bad fuel in a car. The engine might run, but it's going to sputter and cough the whole time. Also, have you ever noticed that Maxwell House is almost always sold pre-ground? This is a huge red flag. The second you grind a coffee bean, it starts to die. It goes through a process called oxidation, which is just a fancy way of saying it roasts in the air and loses all its healthy antioxidants. By the time you buy that giant blue tub at the grocery store, that coffee has probably been ground for months. It's basically the mummy of the coffee world, old, dry, and probably should have stayed in the tomb. You're losing all the heart-healthy benefits that real coffee is supposed to provide. And finally, we have to talk about the king of convenience, Nescafé. Specifically, we're talking about their instant coffee and those 3-in-1 packets that are popular all over the world. Nescafé is great if you're in a huge rush because you just add hot water and boom, you have a drink. But the real question we have to ask is it actually coffee? If you flip over a Nescafé 3-in-1 packet and read the ingredient list, it looks more like a chemistry final or a list of materials for a science project than a breakfast item. Usually the very first ingredient is sugar. The second is some kind of creamer, which is often just a sneaky code name for hydrogenated palm kernel oil. That's a fancy name for trans fats, the stuff that is notoriously bad for your heart and your arteries. So, when you drink these, you aren't just getting a caffeine kick to help you pass your math test. You're getting a massive hit of processed oils and corn syrup. It's basically a melted coffee-flavored candy bar in a mug. Your poor heart is trying to pump blood, and you're sending it a shipment of liquid oil and sugar instead. Instant coffee also has a really weird processing problem. To make those little brown crystals, they have to brew the coffee and then dehydrate it using extreme heat or flash freezing. This process actually concentrates the acrylamide we talked about earlier. In fact, some studies show that instant coffee can have up to twice as much acrylamide as regular brewed coffee. So you're paying for that instant convenience with a double dose of no thank you. It's a shortcut that might be taking a shortcut with your long-term health. And let's not forget the big 2025 scandal that rocked the budget coffee world. There were several reports of instant coffee brands like the Clover Valley brand you find at Dollar General having to be recalled because they found actual glass fragments in the jars. While Nescafé wasn't the specific brand with the glass, it really highlights how messy and dangerous the world of mass-produced, ultra-cheap coffee can be. When a company is trying to make billions of jars as fast as humanly possible, things tend to get a little crunchy, and nobody wants glass flavor in their morning latte. So why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Why do people still drink this stuff every single morning? Mostly it's because it's cheap and we're all really tired. We just want the caffeine and we want it now. But I want you to think about it this way. Your body is like an incredibly expensive high-performance machine. You wouldn't put cheap vegetable oil in $1 million Ferrari, right? So why are we putting moldy, pesticide-covered, chemical-filled brown water into our systems every single morning before we even start our day? Saving your health doesn't have to cost a fortune. You just need to shop smarter. Next time you're at the store, look for 3 things. First, grab USDA organic coffee so you aren't drinking industrial bug spray. Second, buy whole bean coffee. Grinding it yourself takes 30 seconds, but it keeps the healthy antioxidants alive and makes it taste way better than the pre-ground mummy version. Third, if you love instant coffee, switch to freeze-dried organic brands to avoid those weird oils and chemical sugars. Ultimately, coffee should help you focus, not force your liver to fight a ninja battle against toxins. Folgers might be the best part of waking up, but waking up without a chemical headache is even better. It's time to let that last drop of Maxwell House go down the drain and stop treating your mug like a Nescafé science experiment. Your body deserves real, clean energy, not mystery mud. Stay caffeinated the healthy way. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Declassified Food channel for more videos like this one, and tell me your worst coffee horror stories in the comments. See you in the next one. Take care.